I got a lot to talk about today. And by the way, hit your subscribe button if you're not already doing it. And by the way, I also want to hear your comments because once again, the Prime Minister of Canada has stepped in it, not just up to his knees, not just up to his waist, but above his pointy head. Because when he talks about capital gains, as he has been, and he jammed it through Parliament, and of course, accusing the Conservatives for not supporting it. Now, one of the things that this capital gains tax was targeted was to be able to get a $20 billion windfall for a government that can't control spending. But he tries to rationalize it that it's just the rich are paying just a little bit more. In the beginning, he said it wasn't very many people. In fact, he kept saying, oh, it's such a small percentage of people. Let's find out how this interview went for him because it didn't go too well.
On the people who claim a capital gains in excess of $250,000 on an annual basis, I'm sure your math is right on that. That is a very small percentage of the population, but there have been a lot of concerns made by people who are self-employed or they work in the private sector and they've made investments in rental properties and other real estate and other assets that they intended to sell for their retirement. And I know there's a change in the lifetime capital gains exemption that is designed to shelter against that when in particular it's a family business. But there are a lot of people who still believe and have done the math that they are going to be worse off with this, that they've planned for retirement and this changes the game on them.
I think there's a lot of people who are going to be affected by this.
Okay, hang on. Let's stop it right there. So here's a guy that sits there and says, and there's not very many people, and now he says there's going to be a lot of people. You know what? Here's my problem. And the interviewer tried to clarify a few things on the way in, which again were also false. He mentioned that the capital gains and how people were using things for retirement. 2 weeks ago, this guy turned around and said to everybody he doesn't want real estate values going down because he knows that will affect people's retirement. Is he sucking or blowing today? Let's take a look.
Who are extremely wealthy, who see this as something that is going to make a material difference in them because they are making such a significant amount of money, who are trying to convince everyone else that there's a lot more people who are going to be affected by this than not.
Okay, but let's hang on for a second. You know what? Here's the thing. How about what this guy has? All right. So, at first we thought he's only worth $100 million more since he became prime minister. The number's actually getting up there. Reports of up to $200 million more. And he's sitting there saying, people should be paying taxes, their fair share, the rich. I want to know how much he's going to pay when he starts selling some of his stocks, shares, whatever he's got. I want to know how much he's going to pay because I guarantee you he's got a loophole and he's not doing it in this country. Let's see what else he has to say.
And I've spoken with MPs with this, and I've spoken with a number of people, that when people actually do the math and see what is actually this is going to cost them, they will see that it is hard to hold an argument when we have young people who this generation, unlike just 20 years ago, can't even imagine buying a home right now, can't get into the housing market, can't see the kinds of opportunities that previous generations had. I understand that people who've made very, very well in their life don't want to get a little less in the way of profits. But this is a fundamental choice around a fairer society and a fairer community and a fairer economy, and making sure that we can invest in the most ambitious housing plan this country has ever seen.
Okay, we got to stop it right there. Okay, so here's the narrative that this jerk continues to want to shove, is that he's going to try to gain $20 billion of your money as Canadians to turn around and offset his ambitious plan. But the problem is that he's not paying for this. He's virtually got no extra money going to municipalities other than there is some tax breaks, but not $20 billion worth, okay? For instance, what could he possibly do with $20 billion? Oh, I don't know, maybe give $50 million to improve midwifery in Sudan? How about $75 million went to Jordan's education system? I don't know, 135 million to modernize the agriculture in Ghana. I mean, come on. This guy writes checks he can't cash, and now he's expecting you and I, who could have invested and have invested in our future, in the country, in our children, and he wants all of that money to take care of his poor accounting. Let's see what else he says.
Respond to the pressures around density, around public lands, around all the different things, that support for renters, protections of renters. These are things that are making a huge difference, that are being paid for by asking the wealthiest who've done really well to pay a little bit more, or not even pay more, to make a little less in profits when they sell profitable investments. And that's something that the fact that the Conservatives are choosing, who talk about affordability every day in the House, but suddenly say, oh yeah, no, but we don't want to ask those who've done really well in this economy to make a little less so that those who are struggling can do better, is I think, untenable.
Yeah, look, this guy is so far off base. I mean, it's clear. And I want to hear your comments. Please subscribe. But I want to hear your comments on this because, once again, we have a leader of the country flat out saying, we want you to make less profit. Okay, so we don't want Canadians to be profitable. Okay, we want to turn around and we're pretending that we're going to take your profits and move it down to the less fortunate. Did you ever think that a succession plan by Canadians is already that? You know, the idea of mom and pop giving down payments to their kids, very normal, okay? It's been going on for decades. It's not new. But right now, we have a government that wants to turn around and basically destroy our country financially. And you know what? They're giving it their best effort. In the same breath, they'll spend our money anywhere else in the world but here in Canada. Tell you what, I guarantee you Canadians would be okay with this if you actually could show us the money went to what you're talking about. But you don't do it. You never have. So once again, as I wrap this entire thing up, the most important thing as we see this, developing is the fact that as Canadians, we need to protect ourselves. We need to protect the next generation. Investment real estate still works. Despite his effort, it's still a good thing. What I'm sad for is the fact that we're going to lose companies. We're going to lose doctors who were told to turn around and form corporations. This is going to be very unfortunate for a lot of us. But as we continue on as a group, as a true Canadian, we need to focus on what the right stuff is and do it with our best effort. I know a lot of you will comment and say, hey, Todd, you know what, get out of the country. I know that's one of the things that everybody wants to make as a solution. It is a solution, but is it the right one? You know what? I still want to fight for Canada. I know you do too. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm Todd C. Slater. Thanks for tuning in.